Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I am Ramesh Ramachandran. Coming up in the next hour. Israel's defense minister says the Hamas has lost control of Gaza. Israeli forces claim to have killed a number of Hamas commanders and officials. India's Commerce Minister holds talks with U.S. trade representative and his counterparts from South Korea and Singapore in San Francisco. India's Minister for External Affairs meets Home and Defence Secretaries of the UK, addresses the Indian community in London. And the 42nd edition of India International Trade Fair 2023 set to kick off in New Delhi. First up, the latest on the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. The Israeli army on Monday released a video that allegedly shows that the Hamas was using hospitals for hiding and storing weapons in Gaza. Take a look.
It's over a month of Israel-Hamas conflict and still no end in sight. On Monday, Israeli army released video that it claims shows the Rantisi hospital in Gaza. It was reportedly used to hold hostages.
You're now entering into the room where we suspect the hostages were being held. I want you to look at this room. People are putting curtains with nothing above, just wall. No reason to put here a curtain unless you want to film hostages and deliver movies.
According to the Israeli army, a basement facility at the Rantisi hospital had weapons as well as a motorbike reportedly used to transport hostages.
Underneath the hospital, in the basement, we found a Hamas command and control center, suicide bomb vests, grenades, AK-47 assault rifles, explosives devices, RPGs and other weapons.
Israeli military is also working on providing incubators for the evacuation of newborn babies from the conflict area. Whereas the armed wing of Hamas is ready to release up to 70 women and children held in Gaza in return for a 5-day truce. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu met commanders and soldiers of the Caracal Battalion at one of the assembly points near the Gaza Strip fence.
This says a lot. This is also what we are doing now with the forces that are inside. This is neither an operation nor a round, but a war to the end. It is important to me that you know this. This is not lip service, but from the heart and mind. If we do not finish them, it will come back.
The US says that the White House is working to ensure safe passage of citizens.
We do have information, and I'll be careful about how I characterize that, about some of the hostages and a notion that there are a substantial number of hostages who are not just alive, but who could potentially be part of a hostage release. But I couldn't give you a number of exactly how many Americans would be included in that. That's something that we will have to work through as we continue these negotiations. And of course, we won't know for certain until we actually get the release of those hostages and they're safely returned to their families. So that's something we're going to continue to work on.
In response to attacks on northern Israel over the past few days, fighter jets struck Hezbollah terrorist infrastructure in Lebanon. Conflict has claimed over 12,600 lives on both Palestinian and Israeli sides.
And Sarah Coates joins us from Tel Aviv for more on this developing story. Sarah, Israeli tanks are reported to have taken up positions outside the Al-Shifa hospital in Gaza City's main medical center. Now, Israel claims that the hospital sits atop the Hamas tunnels. What more can you tell us about the Israeli military operations in the enclave?
Hi there, Ramesh. Well, look, the Israeli military has just come out to say that the Air Force struck 200 targets, Hamas targets, in the last 24 hours. It says these were terror operatives, weapons production sites, and also anti-tank missile launching areas. While we do understand the Navy also struck a facility which was believed to be a weapons storage facility. Now, heavy fighting is continuing on the ground. Hamas has released its own video appearing to show its fighters ambushing IDF troops. They're using things like RPGs and also bazookas. The death toll on the Israeli side has, in the last 24 hours, now gone up to 46 soldiers killed. It's unclear as to how many Hamas militants have been killed. But look, this fighting is continuing, and Israel has just announced that it's opened yet another humanitarian corridor that's open for 7 hours along Salah al-Din Road. That's the road that goes from the north to the south, calling on these people who do remain in the north of the Strip, where all of this heavy fighting is going on, to evacuate. So, as I said, 7 hours that will be open for, and estimates are that around 200,000 people have actually taken that route in the last few days. Now, they also say that there'll be a 4-hour tactical pause in one certain area in the northern part of the Strip in Gaza City for anyone who wishes to evacuate to do so. But look, Ramesh, just very briefly, as all this fighting is continuing on the ground, so is the worsening humanitarian crisis. We do know that there are around 600 people still in Al-Shifa hospital that you mentioned has basically been surrounded. And there are these fears over these premature babies that have been widely shown on international media who've been taken out of their incubators. But look, Israel is now putting in a formal offer to Al-Shifa Hospital saying we will provide you with incubators, although at this hour it does remain unclear as to how they would operate, given the fact that there really isn't any fuel there.
Also, Sarah, it's day 39 of the conflict. What more can you tell us about a potential hostage deal?
Well, look, this is something, Ramesh, that the Washington Post is reporting on, citing a senior, high-ranking Israeli official. What we do understand is this deal is potentially close to being closed. It would involve maybe 70 or so Israeli hostages. These would potentially be women and children, in exchange for 100 or so, don't really have a firm number on that yet, people, women, and also teenagers being held in Israeli prisons. Now, we do understand this could potentially happen on a stage-by-stage basis. It would mean that there would be a potential 5-day ceasefire. This would be to facilitate these people out of the Strip and also to facilitate these prisoners from Israeli jails inside of the Gaza Strip. And they're also saying that this is Hamas, that they're calling for unfiltered aid into the Strip during this pause in fighting, including taking fuel in. And look, this is something that the Israeli officials have been very adamant on. They've said that they will not take any fuel into the Gaza Strip, fearing it would be used by Hamas to launch further attacks against Israelis. And we've also heard firm calls from Israel to say there will be no ceasefire until all of these hostages are released, these 240-odd hostages. But look, the amount of pressure that's being put on the Benjamin Netanyahu government right now to get any of these hostages out certainly seems to be playing a role in these potential negotiations. And we should potentially hear something in the next few hours or the next few days, Ramesh.
Sarah, thank you for now. Much appreciated. And staying on this story, Brazil's President Lula da Silva welcomed 32 of his country's nationals who were rescued from Gaza following a month of negotiations. He greeted them with hugs and kisses. Their flight was the 10th in Brazil's operation to bring back its citizens from Israel, the West Bank and the Gaza Strip following the recent war in the region. A group of Russian nationals evacuated from Gaza have landed in Moscow, according to Russia's Emergencies Ministry. While the ministry did not mention the number of Russian citizens expected to leave Gaza, media reports said that some 1,000 Russians and nationals from the republics of the former Soviet Union have expressed a desire to leave Gaza. The European Union's foreign ministers met in Brussels on Monday to discuss the situation in West Asia and the support for Ukraine. While ramping up diplomatic pressure for pauses in fighting, the ministers set out the EU's vision for what the future of peace for West Asia could look like. Alex Cadier reports from Brussels.
European Union member states have started to try and imagine what a lasting peace in the Middle East could look like after this latest war between Israel and Hamas in Gaza. But agreeing the first step towards that peace remains a challenge. Some member states have started calling for a ceasefire in Gaza. Last week, French President Emmanuel Macron joined the ranks of European leaders, going beyond a call for pauses, opting instead to call for a full ceasefire. Others, like German Foreign Minister Annalena Baerbock, aren't convinced yet. Minister Baerbock said too many questions about how a ceasefire could or would be enforced remain. Nevertheless, the assembled ministers set out 6 points for a lasting peace between Israel and Palestine. The plan includes 3 no's: no to the forced displacement of Gazans, no reduction in the size of Gaza, and no to the return of Hamas. It also includes 3 yeses: yes to Gazans being involved in the solution, yes to a single authority for all Palestinian territories, and yes to more EU involvement. The ministers also continued their work on supporting Ukraine. The EU's top diplomat, Josep Borrell, said that Ukraine remains the EU's top priority and that the Union would continue to work out a way to ensure long-term support for Ukraine. The meeting will now be followed by the EU's defence ministers meeting in Brussels on Tuesday. The situation in the Middle East and Ukraine will of course both be on the agenda, as will a new plan for a European rapid deployment force. 5,000 troops from around the EU who would stand by to respond to crises around the world at a moment's notice. A force which EU leaders are understandably eager to have up and running. Alex Cadier in Brussels reporting for DD India.
And still to come on DD India News Hour. Indian Minister for External Affairs holds talks with UK Home and Defence Secretaries in London. India's Commerce and Industry Minister holds bilateral meetings on the margins of the Indo-Pacific Economic Framework meeting in San Francisco. And India continues to make efforts to rescue Forte workers trapped in an under-construction tunnel.
Turning crisis into opportunity, transforming ideas into action, stories of real change, tales of sustainable solution.
This series is going to tell stories of such change makers.
Watch Change Makers on DD India.
You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran. Now, UK Prime Minister Rishi Sunak on Monday fired Suella Braverman, one of senior ministers, in a reshuffle of his top team that brought one of his predecessors, David Cameron, back into government as Foreign Secretary. Sunak's decision to bring back Cameron indicates a preference for a more centrist and experienced figure rather than appeasing the populist right of his party that supported Braverman. Cameron, who left politics in 2016, is set to re-enter the government through an appointment to the House of Lords, which is the upper chamber of the British legislature. And my colleague Ollie Barrett now joins us from London. Ollie, has the dust settled on the UK cabinet reshuffle, or are knives out for Sunak in the Conservative Party?
It'll be interesting to see over the coming days. One of the things that we are looking at in particular is exactly how Suella Braverman behaves now that she has moved to the backbenches. She has talked about having more to say in due course. So the question is exactly what she will say and when she will say it and the manner in which she will say it. Is she going to become loud opposition to the government of Rishi Sunak from within his own Conservative Party on the backbenches, or does she have something rather different in mind? Some on the right of the party very much see Suella Braverman as a potential future leadership candidate for their section of the party, so all eyes will be on her in the coming weeks ahead. Of course, a huge amount of attention on Monday was focused on David Cameron, and that will be the same on Tuesday as well, as Rishi Sunak's cabinet meets for the first time. That'll be the first time David Cameron has sat around that cabinet table in Downing Street for 6 or 7 years, but he has a lot of experience of sitting around that table, and that's part of the reason that Rishi Sunak has brought him into cabinet. As you say, trying to go for the centre ground to an extent in British politics, but also trying to have an experienced figure at the rudder of the Foreign Office. But that leaves Rishi Sunak open to criticism as well. The opposition parties say if you have to bring in a former Prime Minister to fill that role, it suggests you don't have a huge amount of talent among your own MPs.
Now, Ollie, Cameron inherits a rather chaotic diplomatic bag of issues, what with the Ukraine, Russia and Israeli-Palestinian conflicts engaging the attention of the world. Help us understand, if you will, what a Cameron foreign ministry will look like in terms of policies or priorities. Will it be change with continuity or a recalibration?
I think for the most part it will be continuity. We've already seen that he has held a meeting in the Foreign Office with India's External Affairs Minister. He has held a phone call with the US Secretary of State Antony Blinken. We know that the crisis in the Middle East was discussed in both of those conversations. I expect that the policy when it comes to the Middle East, when it comes to Ukraine, will very much be one of continuity. There is, though, the issue of China, which has been raising some questions, because when David Cameron was UK Prime Minister, he was trying to usher in what he called at the time a golden era of cooperation and relations with Beijing. Well, things have very much shifted since then when it comes to the UK's relationship with China, and some Conservative MPs are worried that David Cameron might be a little bit too pro-China to be put into the Foreign Secretary position. So it'll be very interesting to see how the UK's China policy plays out under David Cameron's time in the Foreign Office as Foreign Secretary. But for the most part, the expectation is that David Cameron's time in the Foreign Office will see a period of continuity taking over from James Cleverly, particularly when it comes to the Middle East and particularly also when it comes to the crisis in Ukraine.
Ollie, thank you. That was Ollie Battard reporting from London. India's Minister for External Affairs, Subramaniam Jaishankar, met with the newly appointed UK Home Secretary James Cleverly in London on Monday. Minister Jaishankar appreciated Cleverly's unwavering support, underscoring the continued strength of the strategic partnership between India and the UK. Both leaders not only discussed the importance of mobility, skills and talent in the development of India-UK ties, but also exchanged views on addressing shared concerns on extremism, economic offences, trafficking and security. Minister Jaishankar also engaged in a discussion with UK Defence Secretary Grant Shapps on bolstering defence and security cooperation between the two nations. Jaishankar highlighted the promising avenues for collaboration through the Make in India initiative, offering new opportunities for British partners. The leaders exchanged perspectives on pressing global security challenges, emphasizing the convergences in their strategic approaches. India's Minister for External Affairs addressed the Indian community at a Diwali reception in London. He hailed the community for making a powerful contribution to the India-UK relations. Minister Jaishankar said that a new India is coming into being and that a transformation is underway in the country.
I began by saying the world has changed, our relationship has changed, UK has changed, India has changed. So you may ask me, what has changed in India? You know the answer. The answer is Modi. Initiatives like Beti Padhao, Beti Bachao, initiatives about building toilets for girls, about the Jan Dhan Yojana, the financial inclusion, about building houses, the Awas Yojana. When you see the cumulative impact of all of this on the lives of people, that is the change which is underway in India.
India's Commerce and Industry Minister Piyush Goyal held bilateral meetings on the sidelines of the Indo-Pacific Economic Framework meeting in the U.S. city of San Francisco. Minister Goyal met with the U.S. Trade Representative Catherine Tai. He also met with South Korea's Trade Minister. Taking to X, Minister Goyal says that the duo explored ways to enhance cooperation across diverse sectors, along with reviewing the upgradation progress of the India-South Korea Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement. Minister Goyal, who is on a visit to the U.S. from 13th to 16th November, has been invited to attend the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation Summit in San Francisco. Minister Goyal also attended the Investors Roundtable hosted by the Consulate General of India in San Francisco. He said that India is an attractive investment destination for the world. He said India offers promising opportunities for investors because of a unique combination of demographic dividend, manufacturing capability, and a conducive business environment. The minister also met with Singapore's Minister for Trade and Industry, Gan Kim Yong, on the sidelines of the Indo-Pacific Economic Framework meeting in San Francisco. The two sides looked to advance trade and commerce. They emphasized ways of enhancing cooperation between India and Singapore in emerging and futuristic areas. U.S. electric car maker Tesla is on its way to double imports of components from India. Indian Commerce and Industry Minister Piyush Goyal visited Tesla's manufacturing facility at Fremont in California on Tuesday. He noted the contribution of Indian engineers and finance professionals to Tesla's quest of revolutionizing mobility. In the northern Indian state of Uttarakhand, relief and rescue operations are underway to evacuate the trapped workers from the Silkyara tunnel collapse site. Rescuers at the under-construction tunnel have begun inserting large diameter mild steel pipes through the rubble using a machine. The Uttarakhand government has set up a 6-member expert committee to probe the incident. The 40 workers who have been trapped in the collapsed tunnel for 2 days now are safe. They've been given food, water, and oxygen. In Uttarakhand's capital, Dehradun, Chief Minister Pushkar Singh Dhami on Tuesday reviewed the status of an ongoing operation to rescue 40 workers trapped in the Silkyara tunnel. Dhami said that he is monitoring the situation. He visited the site and spoke to the family members of the people who are trapped inside.
नज़दीक से देख रहे हैं और मैं स्वयं वहाँ गया भी था। प्रभावित जो परिवार के परिजन हैं उन सब से भी मैंने बात की है। जो श्रमिक भाई अंदर हैं उनके पारिवारिक जनों से भी बात हुई है। लगातार उनको भोजन सामग्री और पानी और साथ में ऑक्सीजन की सप्लाई हो रही है। सभी लोग लगातार उस पर नज़र बनाए हुए हैं। माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी स्वयं सारी घटना को नज़दीक से देख रहे हैं, जानकारी प्राप्त कर रहे हैं।
Now take a listen to a senior official on India's National Disaster Response Force on the rescue operations underway.
इसमें 40 मजदूर ट्रैप्ड हैं और ये जो कोलैप्स हुआ है, टनल कोलैप्स, तकरीबन 40 मीटर का एरिया जो है वो अफेक्टेड है। उसको वहाँ पर जो डेब्रिस है उसको हटाने की कार्रवाई की जा रही है और हैवी मशीनरीज जो हैं वो लोकल एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन द्वारा प्रोवाइड किए गए हैं। इंजीनियर्स हैं, एक्सपर्ट्स हैं, वहाँ पर लगे हुए हैं और एनडीआरएफ, एसडीआरएफ, आईटीबीपी की टीम्स वहाँ मौजूद है, स्टैंड बाई में। कम्युनिकेशन एस्टैब्लिश हो गया है और इसमें जो फंसे हुए वर्कर्स हैं उनको ऑक्सीजन, पानी और खाद्य सामग्री भी उनको मुहैया कराया गया है।
And my colleague Akshay Dongre now joins us for more on this developing story. Akshay, how are the rescue efforts coming along?
Well, the only good news as far as this particular tragedy is concerned that we have gotten in these 3 days of rescue efforts is the fact that a communication line has been set up with the people who are trapped inside. So far, no casualties have been reported. That is the best news, perhaps. However, as far as the condition of the workers is concerned, it is still critical because they are trapped inside that particular environment where oxygen also has to send through pipes. The authorities have been able also to send food and water along with oxygen through the oxygen pipes that are usually laid as far as the tunnel works are concerned. So while the rescue efforts are going on, it remains to be seen that how much more time is it going to take, because it's sort of a volatile place where the workers are trapped right now. As far as the erosion of the tunnel is concerned, the collapse of the tunnel is concerned, no heavy machinery can be used right now because there are fears that can further lead to collapse inwards where the workers are and where the rescue teams are working right now. So that is one of the biggest challenge in front of the rescue authorities. However, the experts are also looking into the matter, as a committee has been formed of 6 members to look into the entire matter as to why the tunnel collapsed and what else can be done to prevent any further such incident. Because as far as the Char Dham project is concerned, it is taking place at a rapid pace. However, there are certain challenges like this one.
Akshay, as you rightly said, time is of the essence here. What more can you tell us about the well-being of the people trapped inside this under-construction tunnel in terms of their health, safety and their mental state as well?
Well, it's but natural to feel a bit anxious in that claustrophobic environment because, first of all, the fact is those people are in pitch dark. However, the one sigh of relief as far as the area where these workers are trapped is the fact that there is about 50 meters of area inside the tunnel that these workers have, so at least they can move around a bit, as far as the trapped area is concerned. However, still, this is the 3rd day of the rescue efforts. The tunnel collapsed somewhere around 6 a.m. in the morning, day before yesterday. So it will be around somewhere around 48 to 60 hours now that the workers have been trapped there. Though some oxygen along with food and water has been supplied, but the time is running out. We have to find a way to rescue these people because of very important factor about the volatility of that particular environment of that tunnel. Because if there is erosion happening, then there is always a threat of water seeping into that particular area as well, because that was the first issue. That was the issue rather in the first place, that water started seeping in. That has led to collapse, and that is why the 6-member committee of experts who are experts in these geological matters have been set up to look into the matters that when such further tunnels are being built in the Himalayan region, what can be done to prevent such kind of a tragedy. However, still, as far as the condition of the worker is there, they are safe right now, but the rescue efforts will have to be ramped up as far as the rescue of these people are concerned.
All right, we'll leave it at that. Akshay Dongre reporting there from New Delhi. And still to come on DD India News Hour. India's retail inflation falls to a 4-month low in October because of a further drop in food prices. The 42nd edition of India International Trade Fair to kick off shortly in New Delhi. And US top court adopts its first code of ethics for justice.
Turning crisis into opportunity, transforming ideas into action, stories of real change, tales of sustainable solution.
This series is going to tell stories of such change makers.
Watch Change Makers on DD India.
You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran. A quick recap of the headlines. Israel's defense minister says the Hamas has lost control of Gaza. Israeli forces claim to have killed a number of Hamas commanders and officials. India's Commerce Minister holds talks with US trade representative and his counterpart from South Korea and Singapore in San Francisco. And the 42nd edition of India International Trade Fair 2023 to kick off shortly in New Delhi. India's retail inflation declined to a 4-month low of 4.87% in October because of a further drop in food prices. Now, this is the second consecutive month when the consumer price index-based inflation has remained below 6%. The inflation based on the consumer price index was 5.02% in September and 6.83% in August 2023. Some deceleration was also seen in prices of non-food items. Cost of services, clothing, footwear, fuel and light were also down. Price of LPG cylinders and light dropped 0.4% from last October's level. Slight relief in the inflation rates for cereals, milk, spices also helped in the reduction in the retail inflation. A senior Indian journalist, Anil Padmanabhan, now joins us. Welcome to DD India News Hour. Now, can you put the decline in India's retail inflation in its proper context for our viewers?
Sure, Rajesh. So the good news is that, as you said in your introduction, there's a consistent deceleration of inflation, and which is, for the first time, it has dropped below 5% in 4 months. And that's a very welcome sign. But the bad news is that food inflation is still very sticky, and it's come in at 6.6%. The core inflation, which is also a worrisome metric, is down to 4.2%. So overall, if you see, there's good news that inflation has decelerated. But the bad news is that India is not out of the woods. And it's not surprising. Even recently, the RBI governor, Shaktikanta Das, made a reference to it and said India should brace for sudden bouts of food inflation, which seems likely at this stage, particularly given the fact that there are select commodities where we are seeing volatility. If it was onion in July, August, now we are looking at pulses. So yes, it's decelerated, welcome relief, but India is still not out of the woods.
Fair enough. Just so our viewers understand this better, Mr. Padmanabhan, what do you attribute the drop to? In other words, what's the government doing right?
See, Rajesh, this bout of inflation to a large degree has been externally induced, as you're very much aware. And it's a phenomenon that has swept the world. So if you look back at 20 to 22, inflation has doubled worldwide. It has grown from something around 4% to nearly 8.7% in the 22. It has decelerated this year, but even now, world average inflation is around 7%. So this is not something, this is induced externally because of the supply chain disruptions, oil price spike, and then, of course, the US Federal Reserve bumping up interest rates so rapidly, which made the US dollar extremely attractive, and it led to depreciation of currencies worldwide. That macroeconomic phenomenon results in inflation being exported from the United States to countries like India, whose currency depreciated. So it is not so much, I mean, what the government can do and has done well so far is the mitigation tactics, particularly in giving relief to the public. So if you're aware that for the now, we are the 3rd year running, India is giving free food grains ever since COVID started. They are covering 800 million people, which is almost universal coverage in India, and is probably the largest food relief program. They did cut back the quota in December, but they're still maintaining the food security, what's required within the food security, to every family in this country. So mitigation has helped. Secondly, another form of mitigation which has helped, which doesn't get the headlines enough, is the fact that basics, whether you look at toilets, drinking water, housing, banking, these are all things that have been ramped up in the last 10 years to near saturation levels. So the standard of living has gone up, which also gives you a kind of shock absorber when during such bouts of volatile inflation. So these are the things that the government has done, and they have to continue to act to mitigate, because since I said right up front, it's externally induced, there's only precious little you can do to tackle it in policy front. But yes, you need to keep your fisc under control, and all those elements are taken for granted, which the government is already doing.
And finally, Mr. Padmanabhan, from a New Delhi perspective, is it expected to stay down, stay low in the near term, or do you think it will continue to inch towards the Indian Central Bank's target of 4%?
Ramesh, it'll be a while before inflation settles around the desired target of 4% for the Reserve Bank, laid down by the Reserve Bank, because like I said, it is not. It's actually for the first time since some 5 or 6 decades that the world is seeing such a sustained run of inflation worldwide. It's not happened in decades. So this is not something that's going to go away, particularly since the global supply chains are being completely reordered due to geopolitics, and of course also recognizing in a post-COVID world and in the regional war situation that we are seeing in Ukraine, Russia, and Hamas, Israel, that countries have to be resilient. So when you're reworking such supply chains, you cannot expect the inflation rate of this form to come down very rapidly. But yes, India should strive to keep it between 4 to 5%, but that would be wishful thinking. I think you should be prepared for it to move a little bit up and down, but definitely low inflation is not on the immediate horizon.
All right, we'll leave it at that. Mr. Padmanabhan, thank you once again for joining us on DD India News. I appreciate it. In other news, the 42nd edition of India International Trade Fair will kick off in New Delhi shortly. Now, this year's theme is Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, United by Trade. Women entrepreneurs from the South Asian countries will be a key focus of this year's trade fair. The SAARC countries are setting up pavilions to showcase their best products and business to the world. Other countries such as Turkey, Qatar and Bahrain will be major participants at the fair. The mega event will be on until the 27th of November. More than 1 million people are expected to visit the trade fair this year.
I think the exhibition now, it's become a very great exhibition. You can see the huge stalls and huge constructions.
We have ceramic on mosaic lamp item. We come every year here, last 15 years. We are very happy, we love India.
And my colleague Shubhendu Ghosh now joins us for more on this story from the venue of that trade fair. Shubhendu, give us a flavor, if you will, of the grand opening ceremony that will kick off the trade fair. What kind of preparations have gone into making it a success? Shubhendu, are you with us? Shubhendu, can you hear me?
Yes, Ramesh, your audio just came.
Right, Shubhendu, give us a flavor, if you will, of the grand opening ceremony that will kick off the trade fair. What kind of preparations have gone into making it a success?
Right, Ramesh, it's a festive mood here, really, at Pragati Maidan. Weeks ago, this was also the venue of the G20, and now the focus is on the India International Trade Fair, the biggest ever that Delhi has hosted. The place is bustling with energy. All 14 halls are expected to be thronged by crowds wanting to see the diversity of products and services on offer. In fact, the place where I am at the moment, I'd like to show you a special brush here. This brush is made up of coir. Usually brushes like this are made of fiber and plastic, but the focus is also on sustainable solutions in this trade fair. I am in hall number 14, where the Coir Board of India has put up a stall showcasing sustainable, cleaner, simpler solutions to daily life. I'll request my camera person to also pan the camera and show the kind of diversity of products that are on display. You can see products of daily use that are made up of eco-friendly coir material. There are flower pots made up of coir material. If you go further, you can also see colorful toys that are made up of clean, eco-friendly material. Not just that, umbrella, saris, a lot of products which one wonders if it would be possible to make it using coir. Those are the kind of solutions that are being offered. And this is just one stall in hall number 14 of the 14 halls that are here at India International Trade Fair. This place is bustling with energy. In about an hour from now, the formal inauguration will take place. The first 4 to 5 days are reserved for business visitors and then for people.
All right, we'll leave it at that. Shubhendu, thank you. That was my colleague Shubhendu Ghosh reporting from the venue of the mega trade fair that will kick off in New Delhi very shortly. Moving on, India's President Draupadi Murmu on Tuesday interacted with students from various schools on the occasion of Children's Day and advised them to keep moving towards their aim with dedication and hard work.
इतने सारे बच्चों को मिलना एक साथ मेरे लिए एक सौभाग्य की बात है। मैं बहुत खुश हूँ आज। आपके उज्जवल भविष्य के लिए मैं बहुत बहुत शुभकामनाएं देती हूँ। आप सदा स्वस्थ रहे और आगे बढ़ते रहे। अपने माता पिता का सम्मान करें। मातृभूमि में के सेवा के लिए अपने आप को अभी से प्रस्तुत करें और देश का नाम रोशन करें।
Campaigning for the assembly elections is in full swing in the Indian states of Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, Rajasthan and Telangana. Prime Minister Modi addressed a rally in Madhya Pradesh, speaking at the event in Betul. The Prime Minister said that India is now the second largest mobile manufacturer in the world.
आज भारत दुनिया में सच्चाई क्या है? आज भारत दुनिया में मोबाइल फोन का दूसरा सबसे बड़ा निर्माता है। जब कांग्रेस केंद्र सरकार में थी तो भारत में हर साल 20,000 करोड़ रुपए से भी कम के मोबाइल फोन बना करते थे। आज भारत में 3.5 लाख करोड़ रुपए से ज्यादा के मोबाइल बना करते हैं।
On 15th of November every year, India celebrates the Tribal Pride Day. Now this year, India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi will visit Jharkhand's capital Ranchi and the museum that celebrates the life of great tribal leader Birsa Munda and the tribal freedom fighters of the country.
15th of November is celebrated as the National Tribal Pride Day. This day also marks the birth anniversary of the tallest tribal leader, Birsa Munda. This year, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be visiting Jharkhand, his birthplace, to pay tribute to the great man. It was in Ranchi where Birsa Munda laid down his life fighting against British and for the tribal rights and freedom of India. This jail, which functioned till 2010, is now converted into a museum. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will visit the museum on 15th of November and pay floral tributes to Bhagwan Birsa Munda. The museum also showcases the life and history of the tribal leader, his journey from his younger days to his freedom struggle. Not just this, the museum also depicts the tribal culture and their way of life for people from across the country to come and witness the life and history of tribal India.
जनजातीय शहीद संग्रहालय ही है, लेकिन अब आदिवासियत को हम व्याख्यायित करेंगे तो पूरे आदिवासी जीवन को हमने दिखाने की कोशिश की है। उनके पूरा जन्म से लेके नामकरण से लेके और अंतिम संस्कार की बातें भी वहां कही गई हैं। आप घूम के देखेंगे तो उनके सारे कर्मा, सरहुल, सोहराय सब पर्व त्योहार के बारे में वहां बताया गया है।
The prison also preserved the barrack number 4 where Birsa Munda was imprisoned and eventually laid down his life inside the same room. The barrack number 4 has also been converted into resting place for Birsa Munda.
On 15th of November every year, India celebrates the National Tribal Pride Day, a day where tribal leaders are paid respect throughout the country. This year, Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be visiting Ranchi and will also visit this very same museum where Birsa Munda, a tall tribal leader who is also regarded as one of the tallest of all the tribal leaders in India, has sacrificed his life here fighting the British. From Ranchi, this is Dibyendu Model for DD India.
The NASA-ISRO joint project called the NISAR mission is all set for the next big launch by ISRO from India's spaceport of Shar at Sriharikota in January 2024. The crucial testing for the launch is underway at Bengaluru, ISRO's UR Rao Satellite Center. Now, NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory Director, Dr. Laurie Leshin, is in India to take stock of the project. And DD India's Aisha Khanam caught up with Dr. Laurie in Bengaluru. Take a listen.
One of the most ambitious collaborative missions between world's two top spacefaring nations, US and India, is set to excite the world once again. To talk more about this mission, I have with me none other than Dr. Laurie Leshin, who is the director of NASA JPL from US. Tell us, the update and what is the progress on this.
NISAR is doing great. I'm so happy to be here visiting our team from JPL. For the last 9 months, we have had between 30 and 40 of our engineers and technicians here in Bangalore working shoulder to shoulder with our colleagues at ISRO on getting NISAR ready to launch early in 2024.
Now, what exactly is the joint interest that US and India have in this mission?
It's almost a perfect 50-50 collaboration in that we have each provided major sensors, major types of radar instrument to go on board. And ISRO is providing the launch vehicle and the spacecraft, and we are providing a boom and a big reflector and some of the electronics. So it's a wonderful collaboration.
How does a common man relate to this?
We should all care about how our planet is changing, because that change, while it might seem like we're doing something global because we're up in space, in fact, all the measurements we're making are local. We should all care about understanding and potentially predicting volcanoes and earthquakes in the future so that we can keep people safe.
How do the tracking system works, and from where, what happens, how is the data gathered?
ISRO will operate the spacecraft from India, and we will do it in a collaborative way where we will send commands from NASA to here to be sent to the spacecraft. After we launch early next year, we will take the first few months to check out and calibrate the instruments. Over time, you can start to see the changes, and we will be doing that in collaboration, just like we have gotten to this point.
How do you see, cost effectiveness and the use of technology, the propulsion systems? So how do you look at the advantage of launching from India?
Well, it's wonderful. I mean, again, we both had major contributions to the mission, and India providing a launch on their fabulous vehicle was a wonderful contribution to this.
What are the other projects that NASA would like to work with India?
Some of our engineers at JPL were helping to advise and do some independent review to make sure that we could support India in this great achievement. And, I think that the sky is not the limit for the future, so we will see where we go. But first, we are focused on getting NISAR successfully to space and getting that science going.
Very exciting to see women heading so many missions. In ISRO also there are so many women team leaders. What gives an advantage for the women at this top gear?
I think it's about time. It's time for women to lead more things. So I'm very happy to see it as well. Yes, and at JPL we have over 2,000 women working on our missions, and I'm the first woman director of JPL.
That was Dr. Laurie talking to us about the NISAR project, and also looking forward to working in collaboration with India in future with other projects soon. With cameraman Uttam, Aisha Khanam, DD India, Bangalore.
And still to come on DD India News Hour. India squares off against New Zealand in a repeat of the 2019 semi-final in Mumbai on Wednesday. And soccer player Thomas Muller wishes Team India good luck ahead of its semi-final match. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran. And now to all the news from the world of sport with Deepika. Deepika, over to you.
Thanks and good afternoon, Ramesh. Let's bring our viewers a quick review on the India versus New Zealand match, which is all set to take place tomorrow. So India will face off against New Zealand in the first semi-final of the ongoing Cricket World Cup at the iconic Wankhede Stadium in Mumbai on the 15th of November. Rohit Sharma's men will aim to continue their flawless record, having triumphed in all 9 of their matches, while Kane Williamson's New Zealand seek to recreate their 2019 semi-final success. Abhishek Mahajan has a report.
This runout is still fresh in the memories. This wound is yet to be healed. 2019 World Cup semi-final. India knocked out by the Black Caps. 4 years on, India find themselves in the exact same position once again. The Black Caps stand between them and a spot in the final. Rohit Sharma's men have been ruthless, fearless, attacking and outplayed every opponent that they have faced. India aim to maintain their flawless record, having triumphed in all 9 of their matches. Meanwhile, Kane Williamson's New Zealand seek to recreate their 2019 semi-final success. This is a team that thrives on big stages and has a knack of seizing control of crucial moments. Despite 3 successive losses, they bounced back with a roaring form with the bat, posting 400 against Pakistan. 5-wicket triumph over Sri Lanka earned them a spot in the semi-finals against India. While India has already played at the Wankhede Stadium in the current tournament, defeating Sri Lanka by 302 runs, this marks New Zealand's first appearance at the iconic Mumbai venue in the 2023 World Cup. Talking about head-to-head records, India have lost their last 4 knockout matches against New Zealand across formats. Kiwis have been knocked out by one of the hosts in the last 3 ODI World Cups. One of these streaks will be broken at the Wankhede. This semi-final will be the 118th ODI encounter between the two sides. In their 117 head-to-head matches in the ODI format, India maintains a slight advantage over the Black Caps. India has secured victory 59 times, while the Kiwis have won on 50 occasions. 1 match ended in a tie, while 7 matches concluded with no result. The pitch at Wankhede is tricky, but the team winning the toss would tempt the captains to bat first at the ground. Teams batting first have an average score of 357 in this World Cup. An average score while chasing is only 188. India would not like to tinker with the winning combination, while the Kiwis are also likely to go with the same 11 that played against Sri Lanka.
India will look to continue their winning momentum and play like champions in these semi-finals too. But this opponent is tricky. This is New Zealand's 5th consecutive semi-final appearance in the World Cup. Out of those 5 semi-final appearances, 2 have been the final matches. India need to be wary of New Zealand because they know how to win and play big games. With cameraman Jaishankar, this is Abhishek Mahajan in Mumbai's Wankhede for DD India.
And ahead of the semi-final clash between India and New Zealand, Bayern Munich soccer player Thomas Müller posted a video on social media platform X wishing Team India. Müller thanked Virat Kohli also in his post and congratulated the Indian team for the semi-finals. Let's take a listen.
Thank you, Team India, for the shirt, and good luck at the World Cup. Wow, it's a pleasure. I have to try to play cricket in my garden. Thank you.
Well, former South African pacer Mort Mokel resigned as the Pakistan cricket team's bowling coach days after the team was knocked out of the ICC Cricket Men's World Cup 2023 edition. Pakistan failed to qualify for the semi-finals after finishing at the 5th spot. Following the elimination, several former cricketers demanded wholesale changes in the side, including the removal of Babar Azam as the skipper. Pakistan suffered losses against India, Australia, South Africa and England, and a shock defeat at the hands of Afghanistan as well. Now, Mokel had joined the team on a 6-month contract in June this year after finishing his assignment with IPL side Lucknow Super Giants. Moving on to tennis, in his ATP Finals debut, Carlos Alcaraz was defeated by 2-time champion Alexander Zverev of Germany. Zverev delivered a clean-hitting performance to win by 6-7, 6-3 and 6-4 against the Spaniard. Zverev made his 6th appearance at the prestigious year-end event. He has won the title in his previous outing in Turin back in the year 2021 and in London back in the year 2018. The German used his experience to good effect against Alcaraz, staying composed on serve and from the baseline to move to 1-0. Now, Zverev missed last year's event due to a right ankle injury that he sustained during his 2022 Roland Garros semi-final against Rafael Nadal. So that was a quick wrap from the world of sports. Back to Ramesh.
Thank you, Deepika. Now, 14th November is World Diabetes Day. As more and more people are diagnosed with the health condition across the world, this day is observed to spread awareness on diabetes prevention and treatment.
14th November is observed as World Diabetes Day. Often referred to as a lifestyle disease, diabetes is rising among masses in India and abroad. Diabetes is a disease that occurs when your blood sugar is too high, your body doesn't make enough or any insulin or doesn't use the insulin properly.
30 साल की उम्र में ही get blood glucose tested by the age of 30. If you have risk factors like obesity and heart disease, take steps to prevent diabetes. Work on improving your lifestyle. Have regular and balanced diets. Consume more salad, vegetables and proteins. Avoid refined and processed food. Practice a minimum of 30 to 40 minutes of walking or exercise. Do exercise, swimming, yoga and dancing to burn calories. Avoid smoking and alcohol.
World Diabetes Day provides an opportunity to raise awareness of diabetes as a global public health issue and what needs to be done collectively and individually for better prevention, diagnosis and management of the condition. Kiran Bharadwaj's report for DD India.
And that's all for this edition of DD India News Hour. Let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. You can connect with us on Facebook, X and Instagram. You can also check out our website ddindia.co.in. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I am Ramesh Ramachandran. From all of us here in New Delhi, thanks for watching DD India News Hour.